Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, today my friends and I will present on our mini project title, which is the effects of ocean acidification on shell builders. First of all, I will introduce the group members. I am Nofarhana Sakina binti Asy'ari and my group members are Auni Atirah binti Mat Jabar, Nur Azidah binti Kamaruddin and Muhammad Zidul Fattah bin Zainul. For introduction, what is ocean acidification? From the figure, we can see that global carbon cycle is related to ocean acidification. In fact, human activities such as deforestation and industrials release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Around a third to a half of the CO2 released by them is absorbed into the oceans. While this helps to reduce the rate of atmospheric warming and climate change, it also has a direct chemical effect on seawater, which we can call it as ocean acidification. So, the carbon dioxide emitted that was absorbed by the ocean combines with the water to form carbonic acid, which make the ocean more acidic and may reduce the ability of calcifying organisms to form their shells and skeleton. Ocean acidification also can be termed as OA. OA reduces seawater pH, carbonate ion concentration, and saturation states of biologically important calcium carbonate mineral. Therefore, abundant building blocks for calcifying organisms can be found as the seawater is supersaturated with respect to calcium carbonate minerals. However, continued ocean acidification is causing many parts of the ocean to become undersaturated with these minerals, which is likely to affect the ability of some organisms to produce and maintain their shells. However, some species like algae and seagrass may benefit from higher CO2 concentrations. It is because they increase their photosynthetic and growth rate. The other marine species such as mollusks, coral and plankton will be harmed by the more acidic environment. Their shells and skeletons of this animal may become less dense or strong. So, the main issues here that we want to be highlight is OA is a sustained nature of change as the risk comes from the lifetime exposure to lower pH levels. The rapid pace will influence the extent to which calcifying organisms will be able to adapt. Besides that, the evidence which shows the shell builders were affected by OA is being emphasized by Neyman 2018 in his article. She asserted that shells of some animals are dissolving in the more acidic seawater. They cannot extract carbonate ions from bicarbonate, which formed by two hydrogen ions bond with carbonate ion. So, they cannot growing new shells and skeleton. But some animals are able to build shells or skeleton in more acidic water. However, they will spend more energy in doing so, which will obstruct using resources for other activities like reproductions. This process thus makes carbonate ion less abundant for aquatic organisms that need to build up shells and or skeleton.
These are the example of ocean acidification phenomenon. The first one is about the ocean acidification in Russia, while the other one is about Kim River in Malaysia. As we can see in the first picture, the color of the water turns into orange, while the other one is about the workers are investigate the acidity of the water. Basically, this river will flow into the ocean and it can cause ocean acidification. Based on the picture, we can compare the ocean acidification in late 1800s and in 2100. In late 1800s, the concentration of carbon dioxide is lower. As we can see, the seawater pH is above 8. As we know, the carbon dioxide will produce carbonic acid if it combines with water. In this period, the concentration of carbonic acid is low. Therefore, there are many carbonate ions in that time. Thus, there are abundant of healthy corals, mollusks, and other marine calcifiers that can survive in that area. However, in 2100, the concentration of carbon dioxide is high and it produces high level of carbonic acid. Therefore, the percentage of carbonate ion will be decreased. As a result, the number of corals, mollusks, and other marine calcifiers will decrease as well. This is how ocean acidification affects the shell of the marine calcifier. The carbon dioxide will combine with water and carbonate ion, and it will produce two bicarbonate ions. The consumption of carbonate ion impedes calcification. Therefore, the higher concentration of carbonate ions consumed by the seawater, it will decrease the number of marine calcifier in that area. This is the video about the Russia's acid river caused by the mining sector.
Там происходит реакция образования серной кислоты H2SO4. И вот эта вот серная кислота, она просто выжигает все в округе, выжигает почву, выжигает деревья, уничтожает поверхностный слой, то есть трава, также рыба гибнет. И вот эти все тяжелые металлы в растворимой форме, они, конечно, не должны быть в воде.
Разнообразие рыбы было. Сейчас вот он.
Ну а что эти шахтные воды-то не портят?
Так они шахтные воды туда внизу, там где карьеры старые, там кислотки. А здесь-то что? Этот пруд, он наверху, здесь нету ничего такого.
Как не отравлять? Все это в речку идет. Вся эта кислотка. Ни рыбы сейчас, ничего нету.
My name is Nurazida binti. Next, the current issue related to the ocean acidification is coral bleaching. According to the National Academy of Science, tropical coral reef coverage around the world has declined by 30 to 50% since the 1980s. Nearly 75% of the world's reef face threats from increasing acidity in the ocean. As the ocean water absorbs the carbon dioxide and turn more acidic, corals struggle to grow and maintain their calcium carbonate skeleton, leaving them to become more exposed to storm and predator. Global coral bleaching events are those affecting reefs in the Atlantic, Pacific and Indian Ocean within the same year. The first documented global bleaching event occurred from 1997 to 1998. At least 15% of reefs worldwide died. The second event happened in 2010 and another in 2017. That one affected more than 70% of the world reef. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, this disaster affect reef that has never bleached before, according to the northernmost part of Australia, Great Barrier Reef. Next, generally, shell animals, including mussels, clam, urchin, and starfish, are going to have trouble building their shell in more acidic water, just like the corals. Mussels and oysters are expected to grow less shell by 25% and 10% respectively by the end of the century. Urchin and starfish build their shell-like parts, but it will dissolve even more quickly than the calcium carbonate that coral use. This means a weaker shell for this organism will increase the chance of being crushed or eaten. Some of the major impacts on this organism go beyond adult shell building. However, mussel thread which they famously cling to rocks can hold on as well in acidic water. Meanwhile, oyster larvae fail to even begin growing their shell. In their first 48 hours of life, oyster larvae undergo a massive growth spurt, building their shell quickly so they can start feeding. But the more acidic seawater eats away at their shell before they can form. This has already caused massive oyster die-off in the US Pacific Northwest. New study found that larval urchin have trouble digesting their food under raised acidity. Thus, the loss of this organism would have much larger effect in the food chain, as they are food and habitat for many other organisms.
Assalamualaikum. Hi. I am Zizu Fatah bin Zainal and I will be doing the conclusion. So, as the conclusion, the rise in the level of CO2 in the ocean can cause the phenomenon called ocean acidification. The negative effects of ocean acidification is it will negatively affect the shell builders and calcifiers. For example, corals, oysters, scallops, urchins, and crabs. It reduces the carbonate ions needed to build their shells or skeleton. Other than that, it also impacts other marine economy because it disturbs the growth and survival of calcifying organisms. Therefore, we have some recommendations. The first one, ocean acidification must be made as public enemies and environmental conversation. This is because not everyone knows about ocean acidification. This will make them more aware. For example, shellfish industries and related agencies can collaborate to get the issue into the media. Next, we recommend to practice 3R. By making it a habit, we can conserve energy and reduce pollution, even greenhouse emissions and marine litter. Next, we must regulate rules by imposing punishments for those who did illegal logging and others. This will cause them to avoid damaging the sea. And the last one, we must define new designated uses for coastal water bodies in such a way to improve ecological resilience. Thank you.